Uncooked, uncensored. Welcome to COASTER-net Uncut. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of COASTER-net Uncut. I am, of course, Andy Rabarchak, joined by two of my very good friends here this evening. One, Danny Miller, and number two, Mr. Waterparker is back.
Hey, great to be here.
So we have a very special treat for you all here tonight. We are bringing back the COASTER-net roller coaster draft. And what that means is just like a fantasy football draft, you draft roller coasters, flat rides, and other amusement park attractions. But for you tonight, unlike the last one where we did a live draft on the air that kind of went on forever, we've already skipped that for you. And on our official Ride Warrior Discord channel, we had members of our COASTER-net community select their parks and their rides already. They already wrote up a few words about their themes. And we are going to present you to the COASTER-net audience. We're going to present these parks to you tonight. So Waterparker, why don't you run through the rubric with us and maybe some of the other people who have already voted so that we can kind of get an idea of what exactly is that we're going to be talking about here.
Yeah, so every single person, we had 6 people in total, and every single person was graded upon basically 5 main key points of a theme park. You have coaster quality, you have coaster diversity, flat ride diversity, theme cohesiveness, park theme overall, but we added in a special feature, which is bonus points, so that way if a certain judge likes a certain park, they get a little bit extra bonus for their point total, Andy. All right, so we had 6 main contenders. We had Ted Adams. We had Bedholm, who is our original champion. Veritas, Coasting ATC, CP Fan, and Dirt Road Coasters. They're all part of our Discord community. They went through a registration process. They created their parks. And that's what we're going to talk about here tonight, Andy. And I'm really excited because this is the first time we ever did a main event on our Ride Warrior Discord.
Yeah, so it was pretty exciting. And we'll post information later on, down below in the comment section of if you want to join the Discord channel. We have an invite that we can send to you. We'll post that down below. You can get involved, talk to people on there, and then possibly once again next year when we do this again, register for the COASTER-net draft. So what we're going to do here tonight is, like we said, we already voted. We also had our good friend Ryan Wilcox vote, who is an admin on the Discord, and our illustrious leader, Mr. Daniel Westfall.
Fearless leader.
Our fearless leader, Daniel Westfall, also voted. So there will be 5 overall votes and tallies given for each category. We will ultimately tally up all of the points, and whoever has the most points at the end of this will become our COASTER-net 2019 draft champion. So what we're going to do here tonight is talk about what we liked about each park, talk about what we didn't like about each park, and we're going to throw up, on the screen here, we're going to throw up what rides each park had, so to give you an idea of the parks so you can look at it as we discuss it. So let's start with the order in which they are on our nice little Excel sheet here, which I've come to lose now.
Of course.
Of course, it's no longer here.
Hold on.
There it is. Okay, it's on a Google sheet. That's why I'm looking for Excel.
Yes.
So we are going to start with Dirt Road Coasters. And there you can see all the stuff that they have in their park. So Danny, why don't we start with you, and then we'll move on to Waterparker. Talk about what you liked and what you didn't like about this park.
Yeah, so I'll start with maybe the dislikes and the weaknesses here, just because that's maybe a little easier. 15 rounds, and mostly roller coasters here. So I think the diversity in the non-roller coaster, I guess, flat ride categories we were talking about are really just two kind of dark rides, both from Ferrari World. So not a lot of diversity there. That for me was kind of the weakness of Dirt Road Coasters Park here. But in terms of diversity of the roller coasters, I think there was a lot there, and certainly some high quality ones like Lightning Rod, Intimidator 305, Ice Speed, the good diversity as well, having Lightning Racer thrown in there. So generally speaking, I think the roller coasters were definitely the strong point in terms of having a good collection, a nicely themed collection, and a pretty diverse collection. So that's kind of how I ended up voting for Dirt Road Coasters here. Those were the strengths and weaknesses for me there.
Waterparker, what you think here?
Well, I'm going to sort of reverb on what Danny was saying. Starting off with the weaknesses, again, there is a huge lack of flat rides in this park. We only got 2 dark rides from, as he said, Ferrari World. They're pretty fun, but in the whole scheme of things, that made the park go a little bit back for me. Talking about the coasters, though, again, a very strong coaster lineup. Many guys know that I love Lightning Rod. Lightning Rod is my #1 Woody. So I was very pleased to see him actually use Lightning Rod into the theme, which I think that's the main focus of his park, is the fact that there are all these coasters. They all fit into the theme. They're all cohesive. And I think that his main strength is that he has some great heavy hitters, and he has a great theme, and I think great theme diversity. I'll be honest.
The thing that I noticed, and I'll say this right up front, across the board, I was a little disappointed in the overall theme presentations given to us throughout the entire, all 6 competitors
as a whole.
I felt like nobody really went out and tried to take a chance on their theme. Some parks had no theme whatsoever, which is cool. You just pick rides. Not every park has a cohesive theme. But I felt like a lot of parks picked very tired and overdone themes. Like we see a lot of mythology being done across the board. This one is a racing theme. The one thing I didn't like about this park was so much of it came from the Ferrari worlds, where you look at the number of rides that come from there that he picked, and you start counting them up, and it seems like it's all the same park. I looked at him like, half of this stuff comes from 1 or 2 parks, because you're trying to maintain that theme. I would have liked to see maybe a little more thought behind the theme, and maybe instead of doing like racing, maybe when you think of speed, well, other things are fast too, like animals, like Cheetah Hunt might have been a nice addition here, or something, based on that. So I think overall, I'm going to criticize everyone on the overall lack of really, I think people didn't really go out on a limb with their themes that we saw maybe in previous years.
And you bring up a good point there, because here you see Accelerator and Top Thrill Dragster in the same park, which are essentially the same ride, right? Yeah. And then you've got Formula Rosa also in there, all fit into the theme very, very well, for sure. And then even Lightning Rod to some degree, all fit into the theme very well. But, it was almost like race car and like racing cars was kind of here, whereas the speed, if you were to take out like an Accelerator and put in Cheetah Hunt, which, you might say Cheetah Hunt is a better ride than Accelerator anyway, and still fits into your theme, but maybe diversifies the very narrow theme to begin with. So I like that point you made there.
So let's move on to the next one here, which is Holmes Park, and his park is going to be called. And I'm sorry, I should have given the name of these parks, because they did write up a whole thing as well. So the name of the first park was Race, RACE. So Race, Acceleration, Competition, Euphoria. So once again, fitting into that theme. Now moving on to Holmes Park. His name is Elysium, the Isle of the Blessed. And once again, like I said before, he's going to be focusing on different mythologies here from different parts of the world. So looking at his coaster collection, Waterparker, why don't we start with you this time?
Well, his coaster collection. Sorry, I thought we were going to go with Danny. um, I'll start off with the more interesting parts of Holmes Park, and then we'll move into some other things. Holmes, when you go and look at his park, these are all international coasters and rides. Not a single one is from the United States. And I think that's very interesting because he went with a totally different approach than most did. He picked his themes, which I'll admit, I think it's a pretty interesting way to go and formulate your theme as, okay, here's Nordic mythology, here's the Far East, so on and so forth. I think that's good, but as you were saying before, some of these theme ideas are already used up a lot. I think that he picked a pretty diverse, well-rounded coaster park in general. But one thing I'd like to go and point out here is Valhalla at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. This is the one dark ride I've been trying to get, because I don't know if you guys noticed, I'm a huge Maelstrom guy, and the fact that Maelstrom left, this is sort of like a European counterpart. So overall, I think that he has a pretty solid lineup. I think that he could have done a little bit more better flat rides because Vertigo does not fit in with a more mystic theme. But overall, pretty good park to say the least.
Danny, how about you?
So again, I guess I'll start with the weaknesses here. So having gone over to England 2 years ago and having ridden Valhalla myself, Valhalla was actually somewhat of a disappointment for us, and we know for a fact a lot of the effects were not working when we rode it. Which seems to be more the norm than the exception to the norm there. So I don't have a very positive outlook on Valhalla. Myself, having ridden it. And then when you look at the other flat rides here, it seemed to me like those flat rides seem rather generic. I think one's a frisbee, one is kind of like the giant propeller ride. One's a drop tower, I think. So it seemed as if it was sort of a generic flat ride collection, instead of maybe some more elaborate, unique flat or dark rides there. The coaster, so I think that's the weakness for me, is it seems a bit generic, even though they are from different parks and they maybe fit into the theme a little bit. The rides themselves maybe don't offer as much uniqueness there. In terms of the actual roller coaster collection, I think that's more of the strength here. The difficult part for me here is it seems like, okay, Wildfire, I think, is probably the standout ride here. But when I look through the entire collection here, there's a lot of really good rides, and I don't know which one is like the headliner, or I don't know which two are like the headliner. Like, is it Terran and Hyperion? Is it Hyperion and Wildfire? Is it Balder and Terran? Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if any of those are the 10 out of 10 that I want to be my park at the headliner. I think he's got like maybe 6 coasters that are 8s and 9s, and I think there maybe lacked that one standout coaster. And I have the same criticism of maybe the first park as well, except for maybe Lightning Rod. I think Lightning Rod's maybe the stick out there, so maybe Wildfire is here, but I had a tough time really seeing how all these really good rides pulled together into that one conducive theme, like you kind of talked about, Andy. It was sort of, it seems sort of safe to me.
Well, the thing I was thinking when I saw this, it's like, it's almost like he had an idea of, hey, I want to pick all these non-American rides. So that's obviously where he started with this. And that's cool, whatever. But he did so, and he picked rides at the expense. Like, he would rather pick something that wasn't in America than pick something that's better in America and would have fit his theme better in America. And I just don't like. He's like shoehorning stuff into it, like things like Vertigo and Starry Sky Ripper.
He picked the rides and then kind of hodgepodge together a theme that sort of worked amongst all those, as opposed to picking the 2 or 3. I think the way to do this is you pick your first couple of rides that you really, really want in your park, and then from there you say, okay, here's what I have. I can sort of make 2 or 3, maybe 4 different themed areas around this, and then you kind of pick different rides that will fit that and then bring your theme together. So you have those headliners. Like you said, it seems like he picked the rides and then kind of tried to figure something out after that.
Yeah, and and like you said, the rides are fine, but I like I said, the theme is a little bit cliche for me. And like I said, that's a criticism. I would have liked to have seen someone do something a little bit more creative than what's being done here. Like you said, the collection of rides, top notch. Like Dino Conda looks like an amazing ride. Soaring with Dragon looks like an amazing ride. So he's got a whole bunch of nice, amazing rides. I just think the tying of it together at the end is where it's one of the better jobs on here, maybe, of trying to tie things together. But I still think there's a lot left to be desired there. So, moving on to the next park was done by Veritas, and Veritas's park is called Thessard Reef, whatever that means. I have no idea. So,
it's on Boblo Island.
It's on Boblo Island. That's
Boblo,
right? So Thessard Reef, so you see the choices there. I'm going to start this time. And I'll say this. I think of all the choices here made, I think he has by far the strongest solid roller coaster lineup that you could have. Just looking Steel Vengeance, Maverick, Montu, Mystic Timbers, Phantom's Revenge, X2, Wicker Man. He has, I think, the greatest diversity of roller coasters, outside of maybe, something like kiddie rides. But I'll tell you what, if I was to pick, 16 rides and you look at a pure lineup of roller coasters of what he did here, obviously great roller coasters, Helix, Swarm, Flying Dinosaur. He's got everything. His flat rides. Some pretty Haunted Mansion, the Cedar Point Railroad. So he's got some really solid rides, but obviously then when you do that, so even though, you get high marks, I think on coaster, the coaster chosen and the coaster diversity, his theme, is basically nowhere here. So.
I think again, in terms of pure roller coaster lineup, I think this is probably the best one that we have here, and I really like that we've got the railroad there at the end. That's kind of like the little chance you want to take, like, okay, put something a little bit different, but put classic there at the end. You can kind of make a train fit wherever. I mean, every park's got a train, right? So that's not necessarily a negative mark there. Like you said, I think when you do go for the pure rides, I think you do tend to need to hodgepodge together a theme, which we talked about just a minute ago with the previous park. So I think there is a little bit of that going on here. But generally, I think it works. And if you were to just look at the rides, and okay, there's an okay theme there to go along with it. If I were to look at all 6 parks that we have here, and you were to say, looking at these parks, which one do you want to go to most? Which one has the rides that you want to go ride most? For me, it was between this one and one other one that we haven't gotten to yet. But this is probably the park that I most want to visit.
And, trying to bounce off of what you guys have been saying, I personally love this coaster lineup. When I saw him pick Steel Vengeance and Maverick, I thought, wow, he's going to go for a Wild West theme. And then he sort of diverged into this whole Thessard Reef. And if you go and read his write-up, he goes and states there's a tombstone area. So talking about what we were talking about before with hodgepodging and putting a theme to a coaster, I'll admit it. Out of all the parks that I want to visit, like what you guys said, Veritas has easily the best one because I'm a huge sci-fi and horror nut. This is the park I want to be at. Roaming scare actors all the time. It's exactly what I want at HHN. So if we were to look at this, it has a great flat ride lineup, in my opinion at least. I really love Tower of Terror and Haunted Mansion being in one single park. And, again, when you look at this, it's solid. I love this park. I really do.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next one, which is CP fan, okay, and the name of his park is Prehistoric Fantasy.
And he is Raptor, so immediately disqualification.
No, number one. Number one. There you go.
So I think the first thing you notice, and I think what Danny, you pointed out is that, well, why don't you just talk about what you think, what you thought his theme was going to be about here?
Yes. So immediately I started looking at the rides here, and I said, "Oh, it's a flying theme, but it's not just birds," which I like. There's a lot of birds in here. You know, you've got Phoenix, Raptor, Thunderbird, Raven, Valraven to some extent. But then you've also got other things. You've got the helicopters at Cedar Point. You've got Flying Ace Aerial Chase. You've got Peter Pan's Flight. You've got like the Flying Ace Balloon Race, like little tiny rides there. You've got Max Air. Okay, you've got some dragon rides. You've got Dueling Dragon at Happy Valley, China. You've got Steel Dragon 2000. And then you've got Superman the Ride from Six Flags New England in there. Carousel of Progress, okay, fine. But you've got a lot of different things here that still fit into the same theme. And this is maybe the closest to what maybe I was talking about where, and Andy, what you were talking about with the speed. It's really easy to do a speed theme and do all race cars and racing type things like the first park, and you threw out the idea of maybe taking that and expanding that idea outside of the box a little bit and throwing in things like Cheetah Hunt that maybe aren't racing related but are speed related. And I think that was kind of what was done here, because it's really easy to find a bunch of rides and a bunch of roller coasters themed to birds, right? I mean, that's probably about the easiest thing you could come up with. You could probably create a park of 15 rides just from Cedar Fair parks that have the word hawk at the end. I mean, we joke about that all the time, right? That is the easiest thing that you could do in something like this. But there was a chance taken here by doing things like Peter Pan's Flight, Flying Ace Balloon Race, the helicopters. Even though those maybe aren't rides that I necessarily want to ride, I've got to give some credit there. And Max Air and Superman, those all fit into this flying air-themed area or park quite well. I remember a few years ago in the draft that I won when we did it on the forums, I had a similar themed area of the park. I had 3 or 4 areas of my park. In one of them, I had a sea themed area where I had like Manta in there, and then I had an air themed area where I had Griffin, I had Sky Rush. I think I might have had Talon in there as well. So I had, 3 distinctly different air-themed rides. Would have had a flat ride in there too. But they all came together to be this more generic air-themed area. So that's what I really liked about this one.
And, sort of bouncing off that, I love this park because I thought that, now I was looking at this park a little bit before the draft and what he was talking about, a little bit about where he was going. And I'll be honest, I think that he has an amazing ride lineup. I think that he has a really good theme cohesiveness. The Carousel of Progress, I'm going to, that's the one black sheep out of the whole entire herd. So I'll give you that. What I really enjoy is the fact that Water Dragon King from Sun Tribe, China, is one of the only few aqua coasters in this whole entire draft. And in fact, this is a special water coaster because this is actually a golden horse.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So for me, I love that because that shows a little bit more coaster diversity. Because, I'll be honest, I don't think that everyone would have said, okay, I want to get a golden horse in this draft. I want to get an aqua coaster. But, again, like we were saying before, he took a chance. And for me personally, I think that chance, it proved. And especially considering the fact he has an amazing flat ride lineup, I think it's a perfect park. Really.
Well, and I think what the failure of this park for me was where, Danny was looking at it and I was looking at it. It seemed like the theme was clear to me. I almost feel as that the theme was not clear to him because in his write-up, he doesn't really do a very good job
of getting that across.
Like getting that across and tying that together. Like just the name of it, Prehistoric Fantasy, I don't understand how that ties to the flight theme where everything's fly, 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 fly. And then he's talking about dragons and Peter Pan. And I don't know if what we're talking about here was his actual theme because in his write-up, just at the very end, the only mention of it he makes is he says, all this thousands of feet in the air, come fly with us today, where I think if he would have hammered that home more within his write-up, I think that's when he would have probably scored better for me. I don't want to have to put the theme on your park. Like, I see what's here. I see what I would have done, but I'm not quite sure if that's what he wanted me to think because of his write-up. So I think that would be my criticism. I think it would be a perfect theme, a perfect park, not a perfect theme, but a very good theme, a very good park. But I'm not sure if that's what even he was going for. It would have been interesting, and the stuff he chose was pretty unique, except for the Carousel of Progress. And that's where I wonder sometimes if maybe what we're talking about wasn't his actual theme here. So,
right.
So let's move on to, we got two left here. We got Ted Adams and Ted Adams's park. Let me get to the name of it. The Mythic Wood Park in the American Heartland. So just looking down his list of coasters here, once again, a very solid lineup: Ghost Rider, Tatsu, Banshee, Excalibur, Leviathan, Loch Ness, Hades, Atlantis Adventure from Lade World. A lot of good stuff here. Also kiddie rides as well. Merlin's Mayhem thrown in there, so that's a nice little diversity point for me. I like to see that there as well. But once again, going back to the theme, once again, mythology again. A solid theme. He ties it together well. But I wish I would have seen a little bit more here than just mythology once again. So Waterparker, why don't we start with your thoughts?
So when I was doing my judging, I instantly noticed that even though I'll be honest, Mythos is by far one of the most used themes that we have on this draft. But
it's the name of a restaurant at Universal, for God's sake.
I know. But the thing that strikes me is the fact that, again, talking about coaster diversity, this park probably has easily one of the most diverse lineups, for me at least. You have a standout wooden coaster. You have a solid Giga. You have another standout wooden coaster with a corkscrew in it. Now, depending on whether or not it's actually good, that depends on a person. But you have two aqua coasters. And again, this is where I'm going to talk about, they took a chance and they ran with it. I think that this park has great theme. I love the flat rides. Mystic Manor at Hong Kong, beautiful. It's mythic. Manticore, Carousel House on a Rock was a little bit of an iffy choice for me. But most definitely a very well-rounded park, something for everyone, which I think that we should mention here. When you look at diversity, at least for me, I look at it as you have something for everyone with different things. And this park has something for kids, has something for adults, especially with Merlin's Mayhem. That's a good tweener ride. Overall, a pretty good park.
Yeah, I think in general, this is probably one of the most diverse and most well-rounded parks. Again, maybe there's not that one ride that jumps out at you and says, yeah, that's the standout ride. I mean, maybe Leviathan or a Ghost Rider are probably the ones there that you think at. But in terms of being well-rounded, I mean, you got a couple of roller coasters on here, too, that are extremely well-themed. I mean, Revenge of the Mummy and Atlantis Adventure definitely stick out. Atlantis Adventure haven't been there, obviously, but certainly one of the best looking roller coasters in terms of theme and combining theme with the ride. I think the Revenge of the Mummy is one of my favorite highly themed roller coasters as well, and it is highly themed. So I think I think that those are great choices there. And you've sort of got half dark ride, half coaster twice there, then to throw in Mystic Manor. Then you've got a couple of more generic flat rides like Manticore, the Bigfoot Gravity Bomb. So you've got those generic flat rides, but you've also got a unique dark ride that some of these other parks have lacked. But then you've also tied some of your roller coasters into highly themed experience as well. And I think that's why this park in particular, and you've got something for the kids with Merlin's Mayhem. I mean, Merlin's Mayhem is a great attraction for kids and families, and I think that fits really well into this theme. however overused it might be, I think it does fit into it. So in terms of, just a well-rounded collection all the way around, I think this is one of the better options here in the draft.
Okay, so on to our last one, which is Coasting ATC. Now, Coasting ATC did a write-up, but applied no theme to his park whatsoever. So we're just
looking. My park is Cedar Point. I just got a bunch of good rides, and I'm sticking them in the park.
Got the best rides in the world.
Cedar Point, Florida.
So, and he does have a nice collection of rides. There's no doubt.
Yes.
Expedition G-Force, Voyage, Nemesis, T-Express, Infinity Falls, a great raft ride. Millennium Force, and then it's kind of like he chose the thing I found interesting was he chose a number of flat rides and kiddie rides, and I tell you what, Danny, if I was going for pure rides and I had no theme whatsoever, I probably would have loaded up a little bit more on some better rides here.
Yeah, that's the real thing here, because in terms of, you look at the first half of the draft where you've got Expedition G-Force, Voyage, Nemesis, T-Express, Infinity Falls, Millennium Force, Rorosaurus. If you were to just leave that there, and Time Travelers towards the end, but if you were to say that's the first half, you'd be, boy, that sounds like, that sounds like that's probably going to be the park I'm going to pick to go to in terms of rides. And then it's mostly some generic flat rides after that. I mean,
a lot of Cedar Point stuff too, like Skyline, Power Tower, and Lake Erie Eagles. Like I know, a lot of people love those, those flyers. But man,
I mean, honestly, if you were
get, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you were to go flyers and you wanted the best flyers, you got to go with either the Lake Compounce one or the Knoebels ones. I mean, those are the two best ones there. So I think if you were to replace maybe two of the flat rides, the more generic flat rides, maybe like the Eagles and maybe Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, I'm okay having the Kennywood Noah's Ark in there and the Knoebels Carousel. But if you replace, or Race for Your Life Log Flume, you can keep that in there. But if you were to replace maybe Lake Erie Eagles and maybe one other of the rides with another coaster or a unique flat ride or a dark ride, I think this would have probably been the one for me. But there was just a little bit too much that wasn't quite together to complete that. Quite honestly, the best first half of the draft, I think.
Well, I would have chosen. I would have rounded this out with that. If I'm going with the best of everything, I'm going with the best for everything. So I wouldn't have chosen something like Power Tower. I would have chosen Falcon's Fury. The Lake
exactly.
Find the best flyers. The Sky Ride probably find the best of something. If that's the route I was going, I'm going to find the best. The best Log Flume, the best swing ride.
And you could have called the park Golden Ticket Park. I mean,
seriously, right? Waterparker, what were your thoughts here?
All I can say, I'm just going to say everything that they said are my thoughts, except for one thing. The one redeeming fact is the fact that this is located in Florida on the beach. I'm happy. If it's in Florida on the beach, I'm going.
It would be the best park in Florida. That's
the best park in Florida. There you go.
So that being said, we have tallied up all the numbers for you here, and I am going to give you the top three. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the top three that we had for winners here, and we're not going to do a drum roll because that's overkill. We had Dirt Road Coasters with their race theme. That came in third with 178 points.
Okay.
So that is third place for the 2019 draft. So congratulations on that, Dirt Road Coasters. Very big there. Coming in second place, we had Veritas with Thessard Reed.
Ooh.
Coming in with second place with 192 points tabulated amongst all the groups.
I might have picked that. I might have thought that would have been our winner based on the way we
that was they had the strong, or he had the strong coaster lineup. A theme of some sort there, but still in second place. But in number one, first place, maybe a surprise here, is Ted Adams. Ted Adams in first.
Wow. Okay.
Coming in first there with his Mythic Wood theme park. So We'd like to thank all those people, or maybe some final thoughts here. A little bit of a surprise, maybe?
I think so. I think a little bit of a surprise for sure. I thought maybe Veritas would have been the winner the way we were talking there. I think really I think maybe the thing that did it for Ted Adams was maybe the well-roundedness that we talked about a little bit, I think is what did it. And Coast and ATC, I think, might have been in there too, had the second half of the draft maybe been completed a little better. I think those are my thoughts there for sure.
Waterparker?
You know, I can't stress this enough. Ted Adams had a well-rounded park with a great theme. He held to it. He had a strong coaster lineup, a strong flat ride lineup. Overall, not a surprise for me. I think it was a perfect draft, and it was a perfect end.
Yeah, nicely done, guys.
Well, awesome job. We can't wait till next year. Ted Adams is the winner. He will officially be entered into next year's draft, get an automatic bid into the draft. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for participating as well. It was a great job done by all. I think a lot of people had a lot of fun with this. So as always, I am Andy Robarczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
And I'm Brad the Waterparker from Cincinnati, Ohio.
And as always, ride on, Ride Warriors.
See you guys. Thanks.
See you.